Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. We are back to another edition of the Weekly Review. It has been a few weeks, but here we are, live and in live-in color. My name is Mike Larkin, and joining me, as always, is the dead man of RWT, Raw Wrestling Talk, Mr. Paul Morales. How are you, Paul?
I'm doing well, Mr. Michael Larkin. How are you, sir?
I'm happy to be back with you, man. There's a lot of stuff that happened since our last time doing the weekly review. And we're going to give a synopsis and analysis, as always, of what we do. But yeah, I'm happy to be back in the saddle.
Wow, so am I. I'm going to start off with a couple of shout outs right quick.
Okay.
Calvin, what's up, my brother? What's up, my nephew? That's my little nephew. He was watching the show this past week, actually. I sent it to him, and he was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, that's my friend Michael. He cool.
Well, thank you.
One more shout out is to my niece LaRuth. She is graduating on Wednesday. I am so proud of her. She is going to Cal State Northridge in the fall. So congratulations, and I'm happy for you, baby girl. So happy, proud of you.
Well, congratulations, Miss LaRuth, and shout out to the Morales family, and shout out to each and every one of you that listen and enjoy this show, because we have a hell of a show today with so many great topics. And I have to say, Mr. Paul Morales, the love, the respect, the admiration. For this particular first topic, this one is there's some love, some respect, and some admiration. But we're going to start it off with the one and only Mr. Tony Khan, and we'll probably be ending with more banter from the AEW side of things. But I figured I'd start with this because this was very, very recent. The surprising metric AEW has been using to become more reactionary. This is from Inside the Ropes. AEW has been using a unique method when considering making changes. Throughout the course of history, promotions have examined the numbers when it comes to gouging success, and it changes need to be made. This was seen multiple times in the past with WWE, where a special episode of Raw would air filled with stars from the past to counteract struggling ratings on the Monday night show. Although ratings, live attendance, and merchandise sales are all good indicators of success, All Elite Wrestling is reportedly using fan comments as their own barometer. As reported in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, AEW has been making changes based on those who have voiced their opinions on social media instead of looking at the numbers. The one thing, and whether this is a positive or a negative, is that AEW has become more and more reactionary to social media critics as opposed to reactionary to examining actual data. This also follows up with AEW reportedly booking shows last minute. 5 years on from its debut pay-per-view, the promotion is vastly different to what it was in the early days in a number of ways, along with a number of top stars exiting the promotion for the competition and ratings being significantly reduced. Tony Khan's booking methods have also changed. According to a recent report, Tony Khan has been booking AEW in a similar method to 2019 WWE, with scripts being rewritten at the last minute and talent left in the dark about what they are doing on the show until the last minute. So let's just put it out there right in the full spectrum here, Mr. Paul Morales. Tony Khan has become what he absolutely hates, and that
full
is
Vince mode.
Full Vince mode.
Yep, he was trying to go full God mode, but, he stopped at Vince, so that was close enough for him.
Oh, my goodness. And as we can see from here, AEW went from the fun place to work with the great backstage camaraderie when WWE talent, for the most part, were walking on eggshells, to a place with a lot of frustration from wrestlers making a nice and even great living, but not getting anywhere near the ring time nor upward mobility hoped for. So let's put it to you like this here, man. Tony Khan, not only has he become what he hates, Vince McMahon, but it always goes back to he listens to the social media trolls and gets the data that way instead of actually listening to the people that you have, Tony.
I think we've already touched on this quite a bit over our first 15 episodes.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, it's the exact same thing, that Tony only wants to listen to Tony. I get it. He gets a little bit of critique from everybody in the company, and I think he takes it in and get it. It's his company. Same way Vince. It's his company. I completely get it. But still, you're a startup company. If you want it to succeed, you have to be able to, take critiques from people outside of your company. And if people are giving you critiques, it's to help you. It's to hopefully give you some advice. Bully Ray has said, I will come on for free. You ain't even got to pay me. And I will come on for free, and I will do for you what I would do for any other company. Has Tony reached out to him? No. Why? No. Because he's still under contract with WWE, a Legends contract. Doesn't mean he can't go anywhere else. It just means it's a Legends contract. And it's not something that he can't get out of.
Well, that's the thing too. Rene Dupree has offered to help him. I mean, his father, Emile Dupree, was a very talented booker in the Montreal, Quebec, Canada area and the territories there. It's like you have people that want to help you and give you resources, but then you just do this Dave Meltzer thing and just listen to people like Dave and all this, which you sent me this, and we'll start with this.
Grandpa Dave.
Grandpa Dave comes back, and we'll do it like this because this, before we get to the actual events, this made me laugh. These next two. Dave Meltzer praises the Malachi Black bloodbath segment from last night's AEW Dynamite. This was very well done. He got nailed by that blood. I remember that was one of the great moments in Nitro history when they did that same spot and just completely missed. One of the all-time great spots. This was the WWE version of the bloodbath that the Brood used to do decades and decades ago, but man, they did not skimp on whatever that was they were throwing from the ceiling. There was gallons and gallons. This guy was so drenched when it was over. It was unbelievable. This was a well-put-together stunt. Hey, Dave, how you doing? They did this in the Attitude Era with the Brood, and it's not like we've never seen this before. Hello, Dave.
Right, and he did reference the one in WCW where it missed Kevin Nash by, I don't know, about 4 feet.
Oh my God!
And he was supposed to be standing in a specific spot, but shortly missed.
Absolutely, but that's the thing. First of all, the fact that you brought that up, I have the image of Kevin Nash standing here, and then the blood right next to him. It's so interesting to me.
You missed the mark, Kev. You missed the mark.
Oh, Kev. Kevin Nash is another one, man, with a lot of his critiques recently. My goodness. I look at a guy like Kevin Nash, and I have respect for what he's done in the business, but a lot of his critiques are very, And then you get Dave over here, who just states either the obvious or it's just such fanboyish AEW stuff. And I mean, when it comes,
and I think that's what he does. I think I get it. He likes a particular things that he can relate to, particular things that he enjoys. Hey, we're all wrestling fans, Dave. It's the nature of the beast. You know, we like things. We see how they are. Hey, guess what? They look great to us. We like them, and we say that we like them. But when they fall short, we say it, and it's not to be a mark. It's to hopefully that they listen to us and they want to improve it. Not to be an asshole, not to be just to critique it and say, hey, guess what? Maybe try it this way another time down the road. But right now, you missed on it.
Well, we're also very observant, and we're giving you constructive criticism, and it's up to you if you want to take that constructive criticism. Not everything is going to hit the marker, like you said, miss the mark or make the mark, what have you. Everything goes out there, and sometimes things stick and sometimes don't. And I mean, speaking of stuff that doesn't stick, well, here's the thing about this. I'm going to play this one next because we were watching this last week, and I sent it to you first. And
you sent it to me, and I was like,
I heard it.
I heard it. I heard it.
So this is what happened last week on Dynamite. Oh, my Lord. Jay White and the Guns. You can see him. Here it comes.
You begged us to make you care. So we just gave you exactly what you asked for. You see, it's the catalyst.
All right. Who wrote this shit? Loud and clear as day. Oh my God, so loud, so clear as day. Jesus.
You know it's bad when the crowd is that silent for it.
Yep.
And you can hear that clear as day in your in your ear, clear as all hell, and it was on TV.
Yep.
And obviously they didn't edit it out, so
no.
But this is the thing, though, is like, look at what they've done to Jay White. Jay White was a champion in New Japan.
Yep.
And I get it. He's holding a title. Yay, great. But not just a few months ago, he was wrestling for the world title. How did he end up out of that picture? Again, right. I say the same thing with AEW, and that they're so inconsistent with a lot of the things that they do. They don't know how to have top level guys stay in the top level, and it's different. After a while, okay, shuffle them around, but bring in new blood. But in 5 years, that list of people who were in that top top row has fluctuated so much. And I get it, giving opportunity to everybody. I get it. I completely get it. But there are guys that are over, and then there's guys that are not. There are guys that are heels that are over, and there are guys that are not. And you just can't generate that kind of heat or that kind of positive reaction for a lot of guys. I'm trying to figure this out. Like, how is it that Tony does not see that? How is it that he has these awesome guys that come over from New Japan, that come here, and that they're such top level guys? And I get it. They're trying to do things different than from what Vince did. But we just mentioned he was going back to 2009, back to what Vince did 15 years ago. And where are we at now?
Yep.
The exact same shit.
We're in 2024, and 2019 was AEW's inception. And now Tony's going in all double or nothing, and people don't know what they're doing. He's ripping it up. I'm ripping up the syrup. And we don't know what we're doing. And just, I look at it from like a stance like this with Jay White. He goes from feuding with MJF for the World's Heavyweight Championship and being involved with him and Adam Cole, stealing the World Heavyweight Championship, the Bang Bang Championship, him and the Guns winning the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team championships, the trios, and becoming in a brief group with the Acclaimed. Then they automatically turn on them like right after that. And then the feud with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. And now we're just in a feud with the Death Triangle as they fought at Double or Nothing. And you know what it felt like to me watching that? It's just like the Death Triangle was a staple of the 5-year anniversary of AEW. So it's like, okay, let's have them go out there. But we're pushing Jay White and the Guns, so they have to lose to Jay White and the Guns. So,
these were the guys that were on your first show.
Yes,
these were the guys that were on the first show, and that were killing it then. And granted, they came from other places. They came from CMLL, some Lucha Underground. Okay, I get it. Again, it generates with us like you're 5 years later and you have the same group go out there and somehow it just seems like it falls flat. Why? Because injuries. Okay, Pac had his, Phoenix had his, Penta had his. Okay, I get it. Cool. But as they've come back, you could still keep them as a tag team because it's still Death Triangle. They're still part of Death Triangle. So why is it that they can't go after like a tag title or keep the fire going with them? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like
no, I'm right there with you because Tony likes to either he'll bring you here, then we'll pull you apart, then we'll eventually bring you back together. And I mean, it was to set up the return of Juice Robinson, which is great to see Juice Robinson back. But a lot of the matches on that card, and we'll just get into Double or Nothing now, and then we'll go back to the rest of the news. But I look at it like this. Matches like that were just like whatever. Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta, so you mean to tell me we're going to have this match again after I watch Orange Cassidy already beat him, take a pile driver on steps, no sell.
And walk away.
And then we get this match, which almost had the exact same fucking finish with a roll-up, and he wins again. And you're supposed to tell me, like, I'm supposed to be invested. But we did get a follow-up on Dynamite where he rips the contract from Don Callis, and Trent Beretta joins the Don Callis family. Chris Statlander, who is now a heel, introduces Trent into the Don Callis family, which we'll tie it into this. Mercedes Moné wins the TBS championship. Willow and her did the damn thing. And then Chris Statler with the heel turn. And now she and Stokely are heels. I mean, what were your thoughts on all of this, man? Because I felt Orange and Trent was not necessary to have on the pay-per-view, and the Chris Statler heel turn and Trent joining the Don Callis family, which we all pretty much knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to figure out is how are you supposed to create new stars? Create these stars from someone like Willow Nightingale, who's on the rise, who is so freaking over.
White meat baby.
Over like a motherfucker with a crowd. I'm trying to understand this. How is it that you cannot have this woman in this match and not have her win? Why couldn't she have won just by like? Hold on, I'll say this. Why is it that she couldn't just win and then still have the heat and get turned on by Chris Statlander? Why?
All right, go back.
Okay, so all I'm saying is like. What gets me is I think that that Mercedes didn't have to win. I think that Willow could have just easily won, still had the heel turn from Chris, because then it could have continued a story. It still could have hyped up a story. But that's the thing, is like I don't know if he was trying to generate this from what happened in the something in the Valley there, at New Japan. Um, I'm trying to understand where he was going with this, because it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, if you want Mercedes to go over, okay, but you've had all these months that she's been cleared since December, obviously, since December, and I sent you that she's been cleared since December, according to Fightful. Why is it that you waited so long to at least have some more of an interaction, or more of her like beating down Willow? That would have made more sense. Had this match actually happened maybe like a month ago, Mercedes lost, then won here, okay, it would have made sense. But to have it now, and have nothing to set up for it other than a few going through a table, a few coming out and having interviews and ring promos and stuff like that for the last 4-5 months, man, it's trash. I'm sorry. No, to me, it's just trash.
I'm right there with you, because this follows up with what you're saying about it doesn't make sense. So she wins it. Then we go to Dynamite. She's starting the show. It's a celebration. She's like being a tweener, like babyface heel, like wishing her well, but Willow, I got you. And then something you could have set up for a pay-per-view over the summer, I don't know, All In or All Out. Sky Blue comes on the screen. They sold it like this, folks. I felt like I was watching Retribution during the pandemic era, during the COVID era for WWE when they were at the Thunderdome. And Mustafa Ali is cutting that fucking promo, and he's like, we're going to take him down. I was the leader of Retribution. By the way, I was also the SmackDown hacker back on SmackDown. By the way, that was me. This is what it felt like to me, because she's like, oh, hey, Mercedes, here's some of my best work. Oh, by the way, I'm the one who attacked you. You killed it in one night, and you had her face her on the same Dynamite to retain the AEW TBS Women's Championship. What they could have done is what we're going to get, which is Mercedes Moné against Stephanie. What the hell's the chick's last name from CML? It starts with a V, right?
Yeah, I don't even remember her last name, but Stephanie, it was, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just saw it a little while ago.
And I don't mean to disrespect her, but again, this is another one where it's just like, oh my God, it's Stephanie something from CMLL. Who? Oh my God, it's Mina from Stardom. Who? They don't get these fucking reactions because people don't know who they are, Tony. You just throw them in our face like we're supposed to fucking know these people, and we don't. And I know there's history because they fought each other in the Strong Style tournament. But the problem is, if we don't know that, give us a video package or something on these people. And I'm sure it's going to be a very good match, and there's a tie-in here. But you killed Sky Blue in one night because we had to get this out of the way because we got to go to the goddamn Forbidden Door, and you could have saved this for a summer pay-per-view. Like, okay, Mercedes and her had this match at Forbidden Door. Lights go out. Here comes Sky Blue on the screen like she did on Wednesday. And okay, she's the one who attacked her. Then lights come up, and then she attacks her in the ring. Like, you could have started a program there, but you killed it in one fucking night. I apologize, but you get what I'm saying. That made no fucking sense to me.
Again, back to, okay, say Willow had won.
Yeah.
And you got Chris and Willow going for the TBS title. Why couldn't have Mercedes gone for this title from the girl from CMLL? Again, back to, in my mind, as a fan, that would have been more hyped.
Agreed.
Now, mind you, I don't know who she is, and I've heard of her, but I don't know who she is. And yes, I do remember that she wrestled her in the tournament. So again, one brief match doesn't make up for, hey, this is so-and-so, and we're all supposed to know who she is.
That's the thing.
You get me?
Yeah, I feel you. It's just Tony likes to go by the seat of his pants. Like, we all know these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is his thing. It's the Meltzer message board mindset of, oh my God, it's so-and-so. I don't know who fucking so-and-so is. I'm sure this girl is awesome. And I'm like you. I heard of her too. I know she's from CMLL. I know she's from the tournament. But a lot of people do not know who she is. And he puts them fucking out there, and they get no reaction. because
here's what I put down as on my notes. I said some crazy opening where Sky Blue somehow said that she attacked Mercedes like 2 months earlier, like it matters now to everyone who possibly forgot. And I bet you, she wasn't even the one who originally attacked her.
I'm guessing it was supposed to be Julia Hart, but
I'm thinking that it was supposed to be somebody else, or it was probably Julia Hart. And I think that's who it was. I honestly think that's who it was, and I think this is where Tony decided, hey, I'm going to go this way. Instead of just having her in a match against Sky Blue or somebody else, why did it have to be Sky Blue? Why couldn't Sky Blue stay where she was at? I mean, I don't know if this was like one of those, I'm going to try an enhancement, talent, or I mean, he could have used an enhancement talent. That's what I would say. Is not so much that he could. Sky Blue is not the one right now.
No,
it could have been anybody else but Sky Blue. Is what I'm saying.
And my thing is too, like, and this ties into Dynamite as well. So Tony has Christopher Daniels, or as somebody put it on Twitter, the Wish version of Adam Pearce, and I busted out laughing so hard when they said that. That's a clap for that person. That is a
yeah, it was. I saw that too, and I was busted up laughing.
That is a clap from that person. So they called him the Wish version of Adam Pearce. He's the interim,
or the Timo version of freaking.
So he's the interim executive vice president of AEW now. So
because Tony needed somebody else to give him a label on. So,
but here's the thing. Here's where it doesn't
insert Christopher Daniels, who was fired like 2 weeks earlier.
Yes, but here's how it doesn't make any sense. So tonight on Collision, we had Roderick Strong beat Leo Rush. Then he goes into the back and he yells out, "Tony!" And then we go to the little gorilla position where Christopher Daniels is sitting with Tony Khan, and he's like, "You know what, Tony? I want a match with Swerve, and because I want to be the one to face Will Ospreay." And Tony's like, "Oh, you want that match? Well, we're going to get Roderick Strong and Swerve Strickland next week for the AEW World Championship." Okay, wait a minute. You have Christopher Daniels as the interim executive vice president. Why the fuck are you making the matches? You have Christopher Daniels, who you decided to be interim. You're hurt. You're all fucking. And now Christopher Daniels, who you have making these matches, and you're just making.
It's okay. He can come back and roll down the freaking ramp again, like he did at fucking Double or Nothing. So
about the roll.
He was roll out.
Roll
out.
Please. So drop that.
Okay, sorry, my bad. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're fine. He rolls down that fucking ramp. We'll get back to Anarchy and the Rita, but
okay, go back to Christopher Daniels in the back, because that was hilarious. The fact that he was back there, none of this show made any sense really. None of it. None of this show made sense. Particularly the fact that there was no MJF.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing I wrote on my notes. No MJF.
But he's back next week. But he's back next week. But
why
on this show? I don't know. And MJ,
that should have been the opening. And nothing against Mercedes, but it should have been him, or it should have been Swerve that opened the show, because Swerve is your champion. Why are you making him wrestle the second match of the night, making him act like he's nobody?
That match with Luchasaurus went on too fucking long, and I will say.
Oh, hold on. The match between Mercedes and Sky Blue was 8 minutes. 8 minutes long. And 3 of those were in a commercial break.
Good God, yes. Well,
that make sense.
Now refresh my memory.
Tony, listen.
Yes.
We are going to have an intervention soon for you, because you need it.
Can you refresh my memory? What was the matchup like before Swerve of that? Because it's not dawning on me. What was the match before that? I know when it was like 8 minutes.
It was Trent Beretta versus wasn't it Trent? It was Trent. Trent was the opening match, wasn't it?
What, for this past week on Dynamite? No, it was
yeah.
Oh, it was Trent. Oh, Trent and fucking and what's his face? And oh god, Trent and oh god, this guy Roderick. No, it was not Trent and Roderick Strong.
No, it wasn't Roderick. It was somebody else. Oh my god, because that Will Ospreay and Roderick opened Double or Nothing.
No, it was Will and Orange Cassidy against Trent Beretta and.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. And how is it that?
I don't know.
I'm trying to understand this whole thing. Why are we getting the international champion or international champion versus your world champion at Forbidden Door?
That's my thing. I mean, you had the tag match there, which I'm drawing on the others, and I'm sorry, but it blends. But the main thing of the show was Will Ospreay wins the freaking Forbidden Door Gauntlet Rumble, whatever Tony is coming up in his head, and then we got the dude. I said this to you when we had Jericho and the 3-person that matchup that they did on Dynamite, where it was Shibata, Brian Keith, and Hook, where it was the double submission, and on NXT when we had Joe Coffey, Wesley, and all of that, and it was Josh Briggs, and it was a double submission and a double pin. Like, they did the exact same thing in NXT. Now they're copying WWE for the fact that we just had Cody Rhodes, the WWE World Heavyweight Champion, against Logan Paul, the United States Champion, for the World Championship. Now we got Shane Strickland and Will Ospreay, which
I would have rather seen Will versus maybe Shibata.
I'm okay with that.
At Forbidden Door. I would have rather have Swerve versus Shibata at freaking Forbidden Door.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody new, somebody different. And we talked about Takeshita he faced Moxley at Double or Nothing. And if he would have won, he would have wrestled for the title, but he lost. But still, that's another name that could go after Shibata, because that's between those 3 guys and then just Shibata, man, any of them would have killed it with him. Any of them.
My thing is, when you have Will Ospreay as the international champion, the fact that, let's put this out here, that Moxley beats Takeshita, which, do you think that was a punishment for him saying he doesn't like the creative in that article that he said, okay, sure, okay, Takeshita, you don't like our rating? Well, you don't like our booking? You're going to lose to Moxley. And yeah, they had to lose.
I think if you really want to run it back, you probably could have had Zack Sabre Jr. come out and face Will Ospreay, because that would have been a banger.
Yeah, but that's the thing too. It's like
I know that's a New Japan thing. I know, yeah. I understand that, yeah. But it still would have. This isn't New Japan. This is AEW, no. And you could have did it completely different. You could have done it your way, and that would have been perfect for this show, for Forbidden Door. Yeah, between those 2 together, and I just think it would have been more entertaining for fans. But
right. And you're doing Swerve and Ospreay like we mentioned too soon, and it's just you're putting yourself in a pickle here. Who the hell wins? Like, Shane just got the title. Do you put it on the new Golden Boy that is Will Ospreay, or do you keep it on Swerve? Do you have Ospreay lose so quickly? No, it just, you put yourself in a grind. You put yourself in the pickle, man.
And I know what's going to happen.
Go ahead.
And you could tell me and watch. Say it right here. It's going to go to a draw.
Oh, like Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson type of draw, yeah.
It's going to go to a draw, and then you're not going to say, you're going to have this sometime down the line, maybe next year, maybe All In, All Out, later on the year. Yeah. You know, it could work that way, but somehow one of them has to not be a champion. So I'm going to say maybe it's Ospreay that loses the title, and then Ospreay could possibly beat Swerve for it later on down the line. Not saying that's the best idea, but saying if you don't need a double champion right now, you don't need a double champion.
And then there were people that critiqued the fact that we're doing that, because when you think of Forbidden Door, like we mentioned 2 years ago before Punk got hurt, he was supposed to face Hiroshi Tanahashi.
Yeah.
For the title.
Oh, the man with the hair.
Yeah. But the thing is, people were pissed because it's like, wait a minute. You have a Forbidden Door, but you're doing an AEW, 2 AEW guys for the World Heavyweight title. And people started to get pissed that that was 2 AEW guys going for the title. Like, why isn't Swerve facing someone like from New Japan or something? So you also had that type of critique with it as well.
So are we okay? So MJF is back.
Yes.
Obviously, him and Adam Cole have some unfinished business.
You mean Triple H, MJF?
Triple H. I'm sorry, my bad. Triple H, MJF.
Freaking January.
Or triple MJF. You know, one or the other. I don't know.
He comes out with the Triple H gear. I like.
Hey, I have to admit, and I actually saw a video that somebody actually put Triple H's music in the background when he came out. I thought that was just sick, and it was awesome. But it was crazy, though. I mean, him coming out with the jacket, him showing the tattoo, him talking about how he's here, he ain't going nowhere, and so on and so forth. I thought that was a fire promo. Beginning to end, it was a fire promo.
I concur.
But you know that there are a lot of guys who said that they were going to stay with a company for the rest of their lives and didn't.
That's what I'm saying. I think he might regret getting that tattoo.
And I'm not saying that, and a lot of the things that he said, yes, I can more or less agree with. But he may not have needed New Japan. He may not have needed. And why did he name drop Vince McMahon? Why?
I'm going to point that out. I like how you brought this up. So here's the thing. When they say Vince McMahon, and it's like when Will Ospreay took the shot at grinding on the boss's daughter. Oh, wow. So you made a reference like that everybody makes, number one, for Will. And then you get MJF, and it's like, y'all know Vince McMahon, and the same with Tony Khan with the Harvey Weinstein in WWE. Like, do y'all realize, like, Vince McMahon is not in control anymore? Like he's gone. Like, he's gone. Like, he ain't around anymore. Like, why? You don't need to mention
him. It just makes no sense. If I get it. If he was just rambling off and they let him flow, okay, fine, dandy. But that's not something you need to reference. This isn't you saying, hey, guess what? I didn't need Vince McMahon. But that doesn't mean you don't need Triple H either.
Right. Like, you just pissed that out the fucking door.
It doesn't mean no. Okay. We've heard CM Punk say some shit.
That is true.
Okay, so we've heard CM Punk say some shit, and guess where he's at?
Exactly. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, so it's not that it's not something that he couldn't do. And I'm pretty sure, hey, like an Etch-a-Sketch, you can get that damn thing lasered off and put a fucking WWE in the middle of it and say, I bet on me. And he betted on himself, and I get it. Cool. I am proud of you because you are a top guy in the company. For the last 5 years, pretty much, or for at least the last 3, you've made yourself the top guy in that country. You've built yourself up to be that top guy in the country. So if you were to go to WWE and not gone on the, you're not going to NXT, you're going to the main roster. You're not going to hit there. You're going to go to the main roster, and they're going to do with you the best thing that you can have, and quite possibly get that Cody Rhodes fire with him too. I would love to see it, but everything he said, he didn't need to say, or at least that part. Vince McMahon, you didn't need to reference him. You didn't.
You know what else we didn't need to see or need to do? We did not need to have Chris Jericho, Shibata, and Hook for the FTW Championship. This was the drizzling shits, and we talk about shit not making sense. So some dude comes out in a mask, and it's the not-so-bounty hunter, Brian Keith, who I can't take him seriously. He's too small. That he comes out here acting like a badass. This is Tony Khan written all over it. He has a freaking boner for Brian Keith, boy. He loves him some Brian Keith. So Brian Keith comes out, nails Hook with the trash can, the senton onto Shibata on the trash can. Then, oh my God, it's Brian Keith. Makes no sense because they had him and Jericho in the back. He's like, you'll be seeing me again. Like, okay, like he's going to go after Jericho. Then all of a sudden he turns fucking heel and he helps Jericho retain at the pay-per-view. Then we get to friggin' Dynamite, and now it's him, Big Bill, and Chris Jericho in the learning tree. And he's like, I got TV time, guys. And it's the bootleg version of the highlight reel, and it's just so awful. And then Hook comes out ready to fight, and then here comes Samoa Joe. He whispers something into his ear, and I'm like, fucking poor Samoa Joe has to be involved in this. And now we're going to get Samoa Joe and Hook against Jericho and Big Bill, or Big Bill and fucking Brian Keith. And I don't want to fucking see it. Like, and you're making me not want to watch Samoa Joe. Like, you're really making me not want to see Samoa Joe. Poor fucking Samoa Joe goes from being the world heavyweight champion, the fucking wrestling with Hook against Chris Jericho, Big Bill, and Brian fucking Keith. Oh my Lord.
You just said everything that I was thinking. Everything. Why is your ex-world champ, your former world champion, just one champion ago, not like,
hey, I want my
not
rematch.
like Chris Jericho that is like a year and a half ago or something like that. Why? This, again, I go back to what I said before. There's one top level guy, maybe 2, maybe 3. And it's like the elevator. You go down on bottom floor, somebody else comes up. Back down, somebody else comes back up. And it's like, why do you not have your tier of like 8 guys that are trying to battle to get to that, to be the supremacy of one champion? Probably because you have like 30 championships in your fucking company. That's including ROH.
And did you hear he wants to do a mixed tag team championship now?
Oh yeah, I heard that. And I don't mind it, but it's you don't need a continental champion and an international champion. If it was just, this is like the never open championships in New Japan, where you have so many. You got the light one, you got the never open champion, you got the never open tag team champions, you got the never open trios champions. Why? It's like you have no levels. In other words, it's like, here are all the championships, here are all the people. You guys can go after whatever you want.
My thing too is like the fact, well, we saw Tony Khan on this pay-per-view because he brought out Dr. Martha Hart and he announced the Owen Hart tournament once again. Now, he pretty much, again, this is where we joke about how WWE has the King of the Ring tournament and Tony loves him some tournaments. And the winners get the title shots at SummerSlam. Like, we're going to get Bayley and Nia Jax.
Yeah, but that was just announced. That was something that Triple H did the day before.
I know, but then Tony,
and that was cool. That was cool. But I really, really would have liked it at the beginning of the tournament.
True,
because that would have made more sense and more of an incentive. Money in the Bank or a Royal Rumble winner gets a shot at the world title or any of the world titles at WrestleMania. So halfway through the year, we can get somebody who wins King or Queen of the Ring who gets it at SummerSlam. Great. It's new. It's something different. And I think it's something Triple H actually wanted to do a while back, but Vince, of course, wipes it away.
Well, yeah, the last time they did it was the King of the Ring 2002 when Brock Lesnar got the shot at The Rock. But yeah, and now Tony's for the Owen Hart tournament. We got the winners are getting their world title shots at All In at Wembley. I'm like, okay, all right,
cool. Hey, all right, yay.
Yay. But yeah, that was Tony's second appearance. We saw him roll down the ramp, and then we had him
roll out.
Oh my!
Roll out.
Now, here's my thing too. So we mentioned the debauchery was that, and we'll get to Anarchy in the Arena here in a second here. But I think for the rest of the card, like what we had here, like we mentioned, Will Ospreay is the new international champion, beating Roderick Strong.
Yeah.
You know what it is too? We mentioned Mercedes Moné. Now, did anybody like suspect Toni Storm was not going to beat Serena Deeb? Like, come on. Like, I love Toni Storm, but you knew good goddamn well Serena Deeb was not going to win that match.
Look, if it's not Mariah May that takes it off of her, then this whole Toni Storm holding on to that title for this long makes no sense, because Mariah May is the number one contender. Yep. She is number one because she's undefeated. So if it's not Mariah May, then who is it? You can't just bring somebody in. I mean, unless you're going to take the title off of Mercedes and her face her. But again, I go back to something that Tony has been doing as of late. There are no divisions in this thing. It's just, here, we'll just put you in, insert you here, and then you'll go after this title. And hey, you know what? We'll put you over and you win it. Hey, we'll do this with this person. And hey, guess what? You'll win it. Or hey, you know what? This person will go on for this long. Hey, guess what? You'll win it. Again, no stories, no division, nothing. But it's not that the wrestling is bad, except for anything Jericho.
Yeah.
But it's great wrestling. It's really, really great, entertaining wrestling. That's not the problem. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Creative, stories, no division. Period.
Speaking of stories, now, these are the other 3 matches that we'll get into before we move on to others. But I have to bring this up because Edge, Adam Copeland, I don't feel, and I don't want to be cruel here, but I don't feel bad for him because it's like, you didn't need to do the goddamn spot. You and your 50-year-old self did not have to go all the way up to the top of the barbed wire steel cage and do an elbow-ish drop at 50 and break your fucking tibia. on Malachi Black. The adrenaline was pumping. He wanted to do it. As I'm watching him go up there, I'm like, oh no. Like, no, please.
No, but he didn't even land on him. He landed like he barely even like touched the table where Malachi was at, and then the rest of his feet and his leg just freaking hit the floor. It's like it would have been different had you hit him solid, went through the table, barbed wire, boom, there's the spot.
Yeah, it looked
we didn't even get that.
Dude, it looked like he was going for an elbow drop, but then it looked like he was trying to do like a stomp in midair, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well, and it didn't. And I'm like, but my thing too is he mentioned in an interview that him and Gangrel, where they wanted to do it at WrestleMania last year, but if they were like, nobody's going to remember Gangrel, and I guarantee that was Vince.
No,
McMahon.
that was a Vince thing. That was Vince.
That was Vince.
That was Vince that said, ain't nobody going to remember Gangrel. So this wasn't a Triple H thing. This was a Vince thing. So we need to clarify. And I get it. I get where he was coming from, and I get where Vince was trying to come from, but I'm sorry, as an older generation, yeah, you remember him because you're younger. We got a lot of younger people who may not know who he is, but hey, nostalgia pop. And everybody will ask, hey, who was that? It's as simple as that. But you will get the pop. And if you're wrestling fans, you know who he is.
And people popped. He came out hitting the Impaler DDTs. Like, it was awesome. And now, we mentioned the tournament coming. Edge did wind up retaining. And now, unfortunately, he's going to be out with a broken tibia. Now, I will put it to you like this. Did you like the kind of like, okay, we're going to tease like that Brody and Buddy are going to be with him, and then they just say, nope, we're sticking with Malachi. Did you like that small little turn, like they were going to turn on Malachi?
It was cool, but it was kind of like, unless they were really, really going to turn on him, it was kind of like, hey, we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. But no, we're going to do this. And then boom. It's like it didn't need to happen, especially. And I don't know if this was kind of like, hey, I'm going to write off Adam, but he had already broken it. And
yeah, you kind of
something that didn't need to happen. Something that didn't need to happen.
Well, some other thing that didn't need to happen, and I did not hate Swerve versus Christian. I really didn't. But again, you knew good goddamn well Christian was not going to win the World's Heavyweight Championship. Nick Wayne, Mama Wayne getting involved, Luchasaurus, Stomp. It was what it was, but also at the same time, too, I was like, and I like Christian, I really do, but this was just kind of like a foregone from conclusion for me, like you knew Swerve was going to win. So for me, it was just kind of like whatever. It was just like an in-between matchup before we get to where we are now. And then we get to Anarchy in the arena, and, well, they set Jungle Boy on fire with all that gel that he had. He was all gelled up, and they set that boy on fire.
But I think what it was, and I believe that's, somebody had pointed it out, that it was gel, but it was fire retardant, so it wouldn't go any higher than the area that was burnt. So the only thing that didn't have any fire retardant was his hair. So really, his face, it's like it looked like he just, no offense, but jumped in a freaking vat of freaking Vaseline and jumped out.
Oh, so I like your style there.
Seriously.
I like
either that or he was just at some booyaka freaking, you know.
I know. So we had the brawl of play some cool music, and they played the Young Bucks music, and then Brian's like, let's play the greatest entrance music ever, and people are singing and loving them some Europe Final Countdown. Then Matt Jackson goes, we got a budget here, $200,000 every time they play that song. For God's sake, we're on a budget. And then they turn the music off.
Turn that music off. We're on a budget here. I have to pay $200,000 every time that song comes on.
Oh, like they brawled, like going in the ice bath, the friggin' bus trying to run over Darby Allin. My only regret is, and I will say this, the fact that they were chanting, please help Darby. And I got scared because here's my thing. Dr. Martha Hart is at this show, and you're tying up this boy. and super kicking him with the tacks on the sneakers. We saw the exploding chair. But for God's sake, when they did that, I'm like, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I understand they want to do some edgier stuff within the matchup, but I'm like, Dr. Martha Hart is literally sitting in the back. Sitting in the back. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then they're chanting, please help Darby. Didn't that kind of make you feel a little, you know what I'm saying? A little something, something.
Yeah, I know you're referring to Owen Hart, and
Yeah.
God rest that man. You know, it's been 25 years since he passed away, but you know, it was it was it was again. This whole match was kind of like spot, and it was cool. It was cool. Don't get me wrong, exciting, very intriguing. Shout out to Denise because she was there and she was talking about it on her or later on that night, the next morning. The next morning, she was talking about it, and she was talking about how crazy it was having them come by her, how they were in the ring, how it's like they were all over the place. But the fact is that she saw Tony roll down, rolling. You know, yeah. Exactly. So, you know, and them setting Jungle Boy on fire, or Jack Perry. Sorry, my bad. I can't call him Jungle Boy no more because he ain't. But we could call him Jack Perry, and you know the fact that they lit him on fire, and everybody in the arena just gasped. But they got him out right away, and it was cool. It was a cool match from what I watched. So
now here's where the critique's going to come in. Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, gets the pin on Bryan Danielson. The guy who just got set on fire comes back and pins Bryan Danielson to win the match for the Team Elite.
You could have had Okada do it, because then that could have set up Okada versus Bryant for the Continental Championship. Again, things you could have set up.
But you have the guy who got lit on fire win the match. He came back, right?
Exactly.
Okay. But yeah, that was AEW Double or Nothing. We'll mention Raw here because you brought it up, and I'm going to say this right now. I'm really looking forward to Gunther when he does get that championship match. But Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre, that promo was fire. I want to see Drew McIntyre go for that championship. Friggin' CM Punk mentioning and the referencing. I love the story that we're telling as we're going into Glasgow. I love it, man.
I literally wrote down 3 things for Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
Great promo by Gunther.
Yep.
By Drew, and by Damian, because they all somehow tied together. We got Clash at the Castle with Drew and Damian. Whoever the champion is going into SummerSlam gets Gunther. Literally, Liv defeats Becky in a cage match, retains the title. Then we get the kiss. We get the kiss that not a lot of us saw.
No, we did not. But dang, man, like, I like how they're continuing that. I really like how they're continuing.
3 things that I wrote down. That was it, because don't get me wrong. I mean, it was okay.
It was not a bad show. Yeah, it was okay.
It wasn't that it was a bad show. It was just like, it was okay. It wasn't like, aside from the beginning and aside from the end, everything in the middle was just kind of like,
it was there.
It was there.
Can we just point out Braun Breaker? Good God. Spearing both Ilya Dragunov and Ricochet. This man is a menace. This is how you use Braun Breaker. And this is the big middle finger to those people. Oh, he's Goldberg 2.0. Nope. He is not. Shut your mouth.
Because he can wrestle.
Yes.
He can wrestle. That's the difference between him and Goldberg. Braun can wrestle.
Yep. He can wrestle. And my thing, too, is with Liv Morgan now going into the story going on with Dominic, it's got to be Dominic and her are thing. He's got a new mommy. Bring Rhea back. Let's go. I'm here for it. What I do like about it as well is, too, right now for Glasgow, we do have there's 2 matches. We have Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre, the big ones. Then the other Scotswoman, shall I say. Dude, I am so looking forward to Bayley and Piper Niven for the Women's Championship. I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. You know what? If we're going to talk about Bayley, I'm going to say I am very disappointed in Triple H.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm very disappointed in Triple H on how he's presenting the champions on SmackDown.
Okay, go ahead.
Because it's like the story. The only show I'm really, really hyped to watch is Raw. Why? Because the champions there seem to be in cool storylines, seem to be in those really, really awesome storylines. I mean, you got Damien, that's his promos are getting better by the week.
Mhm.
And they seem to have been getting better now that Rhea's not there. And no offense to mommy. I don't want to get bashed, but the thing is like it just doesn't seem like it's working. It doesn't seem like anything on SmackDown is really working, and they're not really doing anything with Bayley. She has been in tag team matches. She's had like maybe one singles match, maybe two on the show since she won the title
Yeah, Chelsea Green.
a little more than a month ago.
Yeah, she wrestled
But
Chelsea.
everything else seems to be like they're not elevating her to be the champion
Yeah, you're right, because
that
she
she
wrestled.
should be. The way that they elevate like Becky when she has it, yeah, there's still a little bit of heat, but the thing is that everybody seems to be like, okay, this is the storyline for her, but Bayley just isn't getting it because she's tag teaming with Naomi. She's tagging with or she's barely even has any matches that are singles matches, and the only time she really put up the title was what? Since then?
Yeah, so looking at it, so she wrestled Chelsea Green before the Saudi show. She
Mhm.
wrestled Naomi. She wrestled Tiffany Stratton and Naomi for the title. That was the triple threat.
Mhm.
And she's just had the tag match with Naomi. Like and that's my thing. Like they're not presenting. I mean, well, they did some. No, Nia Jax first and foremost. I'm gonna put over your girl here, the queen of the ring. That is Nia Jax. Oh my God, she looked fire on the coronation. Chef's kiss. This woman is a goddess. We're putting it over, Paul, because I am right there with you. See, all right. Do you have the action figure? Put it on. Come on, man. Come on. Yeah, buddy. There it is.
Well, my
Point out.
girl.
There
You
it
know
is.
what? I gotta get a crown for her. I gotta get a crown to put on top of her, on top of it. So that's my next job. Is I'm gonna get a crown and I'm gonna put it on top of her because she is a queen.
She cut the great promo and people were booing. Did you hear them chanting, "Not my queen"? I died. That means you know what you're doing.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know what? The best thing about it though is that it's the heat, but
yep.
she's getting it and it's great. It's great heat. It's not like it's she's out here again. No, she's getting fire heat. And it just seemed, now tell me what I just said about Bayley. It just seems like Nia is just this much higher on the totem pole than Bayley, and it's
No,
awesome.
you're right.
My girl is 40 years old.
Yep.
My girl is 40 years old, and she looked amazing. Shout out to Laya Valkyria for freaking taking that squash, for taking that
Bonsai drop.
taking that ass to the freaking to her chest, because
Yeah.
she took it all right.
So so yes, she did that bonsai drop, the Annihilator. And when it comes to King and Queen of the Ring, like, all right, now we saw Bianca and Jade on SmackDown, and it looks like obviously we're going to get them against Shayna and Zoe, but we got Jade and Indy Hartwell next week. The pre-show match of that show was Bianca and Jade against Candice and Indy. Now you knew that they weren't going to win, but it was a nice placer for the women on the pre-show to get that match.
Yeah.
I think when we get to Shayna and Zoe, I'm looking forward to it. But it's going to be interesting to see the direction that they go now with Bianca and Jade. I will say this as far as the matches, Gunther and Randy Orton. I got to say, Randy Orton is another one who killed it at King and the Queen of the Ring. The sell job, that match with Gunther was chef's kiss, like we mentioned, Gunther getting the promo. I did enjoy, and we'll point it into this, because the Gorillas of Destiny made their debut on SmackDown.
G-O-D.
The G-O-D. I enjoyed it. Like, they killed it, man. I'm really liking this.
And I love how the Street Profits, I love how they put them over. I love this match. This match was it was great, and it was a cool finish, and somehow you elevate both teams. And I don't care how you want to look at it. One may have lost, one may have won, but somehow it just puts them this way. I think in the long run, this could be a rivalry. This could be a rivalry down the line, because if they're going to stay a tag team, we're going to get God versus Street Profits again, and somewhere down the line, it may be for titles.
Oh, you mean Bloodline 2.0? Can I just say
Bloodline 2.0?
Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman?
Oh, you gotta love that. You gotta love that.
That promo Paul's like trying to plead with him, and he's like, I like after everything that we've been through, you think I'm gonna believe you? And I just everything. And then friggin' Paul's like, who's we? Because it's Solo, they're trying to keep him in check. They're trying to keep in check for the tribal chief. Like, I love where they're going with this. Like, each and every week from SmackDown, that's what I'm really most hooked with, because I want to see where we're going with the bloodline and Paul Heyman's reaction to what we're doing. Like you mentioned, Bayley, like we mentioned, she's kind of like over here, but the Piper Niven storyline makes me into it. Nia is killing it. I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. LA Knight, first of all, yeah, he corrected Mr. Carmelo Hayes for calling him L.A. Paul. He's like, well, I'll be facing myself then, dummy. Yeah, like that. He comes back at him, and it was great. And Carmelo Hayes wasn't phased. And did you see the tweet that he put out afterward? He goes, oh, I botched a line. Means I should go back to NXT now, right? And I got to say, Carmelo Hayes, you made me laugh with that tweet.
It was cool. I have to admit, it was very, very cool. And that interaction between them two was great.
Yep.
That even though he messed up the line, it was great. And I can't wait for more from them. And that match between them two is going to be fire. And I just want to see Carmelo on TV, because Carmelo is really, really great no matter who he's working with.
Same, and I think Logan Paul and LA Knight, I'm here for it. Just a promo interaction back and forth, and then when we get that match, Logan and Cody did their thing. I will say though, at King and Queen of the Ring, did you like how the finish came though? With first of all, the fact that he punched him in the gut, and Michael Cole's calling him a loser, and he's getting in his face, and then Corey Graves has to stand up like, "Whoa, don't go after that." Michael Cole,
you said you weren't going to use those. You said you weren't going to have those brass knuckles. You don't need them. You're a loser. And he kept talking shit to him the whole time. And hey, shout out to Michael Cole, because that I love. And I'm going to say this over and over again. I fucking love that Triple H is just letting them do them. This isn't Vince in his ear telling him what to say, what to do. This is Michael Cole on his own, allowed to say whatever the fuck he wants and just go with it. Him and Corey Graves on pay-per-views is awesome, but it was Corey Graves. Just Corey Graves being out there with Michael Cole, it was awesome. And him trying to separate them, trying to tell him, no, you guys can't do that. No. Michael Cole's like, but you look like he was about ready to put on that singlet again and get back into the ring. You know what I'm saying?
Can we also put over Logan Paul's call of that 360 before he does the frog splash onto Cody? What a camera angle. Oof.
Oh man, dude. I don't like Logan Paul, but I think he is probably one of the most gifted wrestlers. And I say call him a wrestler because he's just a gifted athlete. And he goes in there and he works. And it isn't like he's just some guy that just came in, said, "Hey, guess what? I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna try this out, see if it works." No, he's busting his ass. He's working the ropes. He's working with other wrestlers. He's trying to hone this craft, which is great. And he has done that over the last year and a half, 2 years that he's been there. So the fact that shout out to him, man. I mean, I got to give him a lot of props, a lot of credit. Don't mean I like him, but I got to give him the credit.
Did you like the fact that with the match with Cody and Logan, that the finish came where he goes for the knucks, but Ibrahim, the comedian from Saudi Arabia, is the one who gets involved and trips the leg before Cody wins? Did you like Ibrahim's involvement?
Yeah. You know what? It seems like every time they're there, he's always the one that comes out for the announcing, and then something happens with him.
Yep.
And I get it. You're trying to get somebody that's familiar with the area and people know, involved, which is great. Cool. That was like Mansoor.
It feels so good to be back in Jeddah.
It feels so good to be back in Jeddah. I mean, but it's the feels that they wanted, and him getting involved was cool, and it helped with the match, and match was great. I thought it was.
So we had two amazing.
No, Dave, it wasn't 5-star. It was great. I said it was just great.
So we had two amazing cards from both WWE and AEW last weekend. But one other thing from Raw I actually did have before we talk about the big angle from SmackDown, and then we get friggin' Shawn Michaels just cooking before we get to the cooking, is cooking. One other thing I wanted to mention, do you like the direction of Karrion Kross being that guy that's trying to separate the New Day and cause them to turn on each other? Do you like where we're going with that angle?
I think after everything Vince did with him, I don't know if it's just not generating right.
It's not clicking for me either.
It's not, and I think, and I honestly think, and I've said this before, he needs to go to NXT because he needs to be able to hone that energy that he has with there, and bring it into here, to bring it into the main roster, because a lot of people aren't really grabbing onto it, and him in this thing is just kind of like, we've seen this before. The people who have like tried to break up the New Day and who have tried to say stuff like, oh, well, I saw Kofi over here. How is it that Xavier is the only one that hasn't had a world championship? Well, how come you haven't had a world championship, sir? Not since NXT. Why is that? Why is that you have not been in the championship picture since NXT?
It reminded me of, God rest his soul, when they tried to have the Wyatt family, and like Xavier's like trying to tell him like, hey, like, let's take this seriously. Enough with the jokes. Like, they're dangerous. They're gonna kill us. They're gonna kill us. It reminded me of that. And now we have Karrion Kross trying to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? Trying to plant the seeds. And Bray Wyatt at the time, God rest his soul, was like, hey, Xavier knows, like, that they know what's going to come out of this if you guys, don't take it seriously. If you want to think this is a joke, this is not a joke.
In all actuality, you know what? Karrion is. This is not a knock on the person. This is not a knock on him as a person, because I think he's genuinely a nice guy. But somehow this character just is not getting over with anybody.
I think
now it would have been different had he went back to, you have him with AOP, you have this faction with them. Why is it that they can't run rush shot around Raw like Judgment Day does? Well, why is it that you gotta kind of creep around things to get to where you're gonna go? And it just seems like they're just there.
Well, they tried that on SmackDown when they were beating up like, Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne, and then all of a sudden they get drafted to Raw. And I mean, and I don't want to say the damage is done because I like Karrion Kross as well. But the fact is, they're just here on Raw now. Oh my God, it's the Final Testament. And then you're stuck with Karrion Kross is trying to coerce the New Day against each other. And it's like, all right. And I mean, we'll get to the big angle on SmackDown before we get to the hot stuff towards the end of the show here, folks. But all right, AJ Styles is in his that doggone blue suit, man. That blue suit. And he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say it in the ring. And LA Knight's like, if this is the end of it, respect. And everybody's hugging. He's hugging Cody. He tells him to come out. OC come out with him. Cuts this heartfelt promo circa Mark Henry 2013 with the salmon suit when he playing the role of John Cena as Cody Rhodes, and Cody Rhodes has that look on his face like he wants to cry again, and then he's raising his hand, and that's it. He's missed his son just graduated. I need to be there more for my family. He's raising his hand, and then woo, and everybody's like whoa, and then boom, clothesline, sucker. I'm not retiring. AJ just mollywops his boy, takes him out of the ring, throws him into the stairs. Get out of here, Steel Steps. Styles clash off the stairs, and Nick Aldis is like, what the hell, man? So they are continuing for the second time going into Glasgow, Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. This was done perfection.
And I don't mind it. I don't. Even if here, I come back to there needs to be some sort of substance to each feud. And we were supposed to get, I believe I don't know if we're still going to get it, Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, or if The Rock decides that he's going to come back, and if we're going to get The Rock and Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam. But I want this feud to continue, but I need it to have, I need it to have some sort of meaning. I need it to have, I don't want him to just have that Roman Reigns, hey, guess what? I'm going to beat this guy. I'm going to beat that guy. I'm going to beat that guy. And I'm going to wrestle every 2 months, 3 months. I'm going to wrestle 4 times a year, maybe 3 times a year. And the fact is that people are giving him shit because, oh, well, you're not really doing anything with the title, or, this isn't Roman Reigns. It's different. Every title reign is different. Why is it that we have to compare it to Roman Reigns, who just held it for almost 3.5 years, almost 4 years?
That's
why can't somebody be different? It's like, we're not going to compare Cody to Stone Cold. We're not going to compare him to The Rock. We're not going to compare him to the Undertakers, and we're not going to compare him to Kane's 13 minutes of a championship. But that's what I'm saying, though, is like, how are we going to start comparing the level of this? Yeah, he elevated it. Yeah, but he also held it hostage for 3.5 years. This isn't Hulk Hogan who fought everybody, but at the same time, Hulk Hogan was actually the one that was being protected, a la the same thing that Roman Reigns was. He was just being protected because he was elevating the title, and people were waiting for somebody to come along. Yeah, it should have been Jey Uso. Yeah, it should have been Sami Zayn who should have dethroned him. It was Cody Rhodes.
And it made sense, but then people are just, like I said, I don't understand it either, where it's just like Cody Rhodes, the reign's been boring so far. Like, first of all, the story that he told with AJ, the Logan Paul thing was very, very good. Everything that was built to that. Like, he hasn't had anything bad. It's just people always have something to say. And now we're going back to Cody and AJ. I'm looking forward to where we go with SummerSlam if we get Cody and The Rock or whatever that they do. But it's just like, I feel like with wrestling fans, nobody gives anything time anymore, or they just don't let it flow and let it marinate to see where we go. Everything has to be rush. We have such a short attention span.
But we didn't get the rush with Roman.
I know.
We didn't. I don't understand that. We were getting the U.S. title every fucking week for what? 2 fucking months.
Yep.
3 months. We were getting just the U.S. title on the TV because Roman Reigns was nowhere to be found. So
yep.
How is it you're going to compare? And I've said this to a lot of people before, and I've stressed this, like, I don't understand how is it that we can compare how Cody Rhodes is working this title when Roman Reigns didn't even fucking defend it.
I don't understand. I think it's because people would bitch about Roman, but now that he's gone, and especially with the storyline with the bloodline, they want Roman back. But it's fickleness. It's fickle people. And the fickleness doesn't stop because we have a lot to go into. But before we get to NXT and that goddamn Shawn Michaels, there was something else that did happen. It is 30 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but the Tongas made a statement. That is the Tonga twins.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you went there because I was gonna talk about it. And go ahead.
Okay, so before I pull up the rest of this stuff, the Tongas did make a statement. From the video, they were very emotional. They were very upset, and it looks like one of the commentators, the announcers, they didn't mention the name, and a lot of people thought it was Stephen Dickey, who has been there for a while. But
no, they mentioned that it wasn't him.
It was not him. It was the other guy, whoever's there now. And they didn't say anything bad about David McLean. It's just, yeah, they felt, they felt bad about. Okay, yeah, they felt bad about, what they were saying. They got emotional for what people were saying. They care about their culture and everything. And just, it was hard to watch, man, because you could tell, like, they love really being there. And that guy just making fun of them or saying what he said, the verbal stuff, it got to them. And I think it sucks, man. I think it sucks for those poor girls.
Yeah, you know what? If you're being harassed or you're being told things at your work, and this is a guy who just took over, and I think I know who it is, but I don't want to say who it is. And I don't want to go against the girls that against the Tonga twins because I understand where they're coming from. So I'm not going to say who I think it is because if it's this person who just recently started there this past season, then I'm just not going to touch on it. But the fact is that dude came in thinking he's high and mighty. The fact that he's worked for a few companies prior to this, and he's coming in saying all this stuff to them and trying to make them. And mind you, they pointed out that it's not just them; it were other girls in the company in WoW that were being harassed. So the fact that they're doing this, and the fact that he's still there and they're gone, they got up and left. And there are people who are defending this guy, and there are people who are bashing women that are in the company that are bashing the Tonga twins, and I don't get it. It's like, come on, man, you all work there. If you all saw this and you saw it going on, you're part of the problem. If you're just going to be the one that are just going to be sitting there saying, oh well, this and that didn't happen, and it's like, all right, then you're just part of the problem, not part of the solution.
That's the thing too. It's just we see that a lot within professional wrestling companies and life in itself with different various jobs. And I mean, they're now free agents. Let's see where they go in their trajectory of their careers. For me personally, I can say from watching the WoW product, much like yourself, I thought they did the damn thing when it came to the women's tag team.
Yeah,
like they were really good for those who've never seen them. But it's just like it's unfortunate. And I mean, I wish that those ladies both nothing but the best and to see where they go. Where would you like to see them go? Knockouts division.
You know what? I'm kind of prone to either going to TNA or heading over to NWA, because NWA has actually been fucking really great as of late. And shout out to Jazz. Jazz has been the woman who has been leading that division as far as producing the stuff. Shout out to Billy Corgan for getting her in there. And I mean, she was champion when he bought the company. You know, when he took over, when he literally bought the NWA, and she's been developing it over the last, I'd say 6 years that I think he's owned it. And it's just seemed to have gotten better, especially during the pandemic, when nobody thought that it was really going to be anything. As soon as the pandemic hit, nobody really thought it was really going to survive past that. But here we are 4 years past the pandemic, and look, it's continuing to get up. I beg people to watch Welcome to Carneyland. I believe that's the name of it, is on the CW. It's free on the app. I mean, go watch it. I mean, it's entertaining as all hell. And I believe in Billy. For some apparent reason, Billy is actually making me a believer in freaking the NWA and what he's doing there.
I think that product is so slept on because they have a lot of good talents there. I mean, you could say what you will about EC3 being the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, but
it's better than fucking Tyrus.
Better than Tyrus, yes, it is. And again, there's so much wrestling out there. There's so much stuff. But yes, I'd love to see them in their NWA Women's Tag Division of the Knockouts with TNA. And well, before we get to, we're going to close it out with Meltzer because I've been saving this one, but we have to talk about the big news. And there's a certain photo of Mr. Paul Morales that I would like to share and put up on the screen here. It's from a certain person's Twitter by the name of Shawn Michaels. You may have heard of him, folks. Hold on one second here. That right there, Mr. Paul Morales.
Oh, wait, sorry, my bad. Wrong way. That way.
Yes, Shawn Michaels is cooking. Oh, he actually put it up there. First of all, Shawn Michaels and Sexy Red is the duo I never thought I needed to see. Shawn Michaels and Sexy Red, Sexy Boy. And I'm going to say this right now.
Sexy boy, I'm not your boy toy. Yep, that was awesome.
Sexy Red. And I know people are like, oh, God, we got Sexy Red on NXT. She is a legit fan, number one. And number two, the stuff that she did with Ava, this with the Women's North American title, the stuff that she did with Trick and Javon Evans at the end of the show. Like, I am now a fan of Sexy Red for the fact of how she favors and is respectful towards the WWE. Her music,
you have to admit that belt is fucking gorgeous.
Oh, that belt is gorgeous. Absolutely is.
And you could put it up right here because that belt is fucking gorgeous. That belt is so beautiful. You know what? It's awesome, and shout out to that man right there, because literally, I'm glad he made it his fucking profile picture, because that man's cooking right now. That man is just in there. May not know what the hell he's cooking, but I mean, he's cooking.
Now, we do have NXT Battleground next week, and I'm going to say this right now. I am super duper hyped for what we have here. We'll talk about the two main matches. So Roxanne Perez comes out. you know what? Who's my opponent going to be? And then Ava comes out, and it's
who,
and I'm thinking, and a lot of people online were saying Tegan Knox, and I'm like, okay, that would have been.
And I thought that too. I honestly thought that she was going to be the return, and I was like, yes, give it to me, give me that, give me all of that.
And then all the sirens start playing, and you're like, what?
Hey, I will finish fucking Joseph's freaking line. Holy shit!
I almost got kicked off the air.
I'll get kicked off the air. Holy shit! That shit. Holy shit! It was fucking Jordan Grace that came out. Not just any Jordan Grace, but the TNA Knockouts champion Jordan Grace. Give me that shit for Battleground.
I am here for it. And I will say this. And what makes it even better for me is that next week we're going to get Jordan Grace against, first of all, Stevie Turner. Welcome back, Stevie Turner. No longer
right.
No longer the gamer Stevie Turner. Which, first of all, that was good because they just felt like they were doing the Twitch streams and the vignettes for her. Then it went nowhere, but now it's just like, okay, you want an opportunity? Here's Jordan Grace.
No, yeah, she's been on Level Up, and she was talking about, and even Rob Stone that was there was talking about, you gave. Damn, his name is escaping me right now.
Robert Stone,
yeah, Robert Stone. He gave somebody else an opportunity, and she's like telling Eva, "Well, why don't you give me an opportunity? I'm on Level Up, and I'm improving on Level Up. Why don't you give me an opportunity?" And then who comes in but Jordan Grace, and we're gonna get Stevie versus Jordan next week.
What my thing that I love, besides that we're getting Jordan and Roxanne, it was announced on Busted Open Radio that at Against All Odds, Jordan Grace will be defending the Knockouts Championship against a mystery person. Who from NXT do you think it's going to be?
I probably Roxanne.
I would think that would be interesting if they do it Against All Odds. A lot of people have said Natalya. A lot of people have said,
because that's somebody that she's been wanting to wrestle. That is somebody that she said is on her bucket list of people that she wants to wrestle.
And I would be fine if it's Natalya. It makes sense.
I would too. I would so be excited for it and enjoying it like no other.
Well, are you looking forward to the main event? Because it's a day before. Excuse me, it's a day before NXT Battleground. Are you looking forward to Moose and Matt Hardy?
Actually, the funny thing is I actually am.
Same here. I think
because all I want is delete. I want, and Matt has been working out. Matt has actually been working out and working on his body. And if you go watch Reeby's freaking IG, that's what he's been doing. He's been doing the damn thing, and I think even before he left AEW, he had started working out a lot more. More conditioning than anything else. But I mean, working out and toning up his body. So shout out to freaking almost 50-year-old freaking Matt Hardy.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like we have two amazing events, and you're going to see some NXT and TNA interaction, which a lot of people have been clamoring for years. I mean, we saw Mickie James in the Rumble, we saw Jordan Grace in the Rumble, and now we're finally getting it. There's going to be more of this, as PW Insider reported. I am so happy.
I will quote Ollie Davis. Dolph Ziggler to WWE confirmed.
That is so true.
Shout out to Ollie, man. That was funny when he did that. I was like, crossovers. And then he said, Dolph Ziggler to WWE confirmed. Oh, Nick Nemeth to WWE confirmed.
Yes. Now I have to ask you about all these talents as well, because not only are we getting Roxanne, and we're going to do our predictions of Battleground next week, but dude, friggin' Trick Williams is out there. Lash Legend wants to know, did you attack Noam? Lights go out and somebody's beating him down. And then, first of all, the return, we didn't know Jordan Grace. We sure as hell did not know All Ego Ethan Page who's going to be the one who attacked Noam and Ora Mensa, and then he just whoops that Trick. I'm about to, the knee in the corner. Give me Trick Williams and All Ego Ethan Page for the NXT Championship at Battleground. I'm here for it. All Ego.
I am here for it. And I believe in our last show, that we did a couple of weeks ago. Sorry for that. We took a little bit of a hiatus. You know, we had a little bit of we had a little bit of a family that we needed to take care of. So the fact that we did that, shout out to you.
Thank you.
Anyways, the fact, so a couple weeks ago when we were talking about it, we said Ethan Page had left AEW. His contract had expired, and he was looking for a new place, and everybody had speculated he was going to go to WWE. And he did this whole promotion. Oh yeah, I'm going to go do this and blah, blah, blah. Where am I going to go? Well, he started promoting his action figures, saying it was number one on the spot, and people need to go get them. Well, lo and behold, here we get Ethan Page that ends up showing up on NXT, and he is going to face Trick Williams for the NXT championship at Battleground, and I am here for it.
Like this card next week, we have Oba Femi against Wesley and Joe Coffey. Oba Femi,
Oba fucking Femi.
We have Nathan Frazier and Axiom against the OC for the tag titles. I'm here for it. But what I'm really looking forward to because of UFC and the vibes, Shayna Baszler and Lola Vice and NXT Underground. Yes, please.
Give me that. That's going to be awesome. And Lola Vice is just a beast, though. She is just a beast.
I got to put her over. Ariana Grace. Oh, shit. This woman, she gets it from her daddy. She is awesome. Give me more Ariana Grace. It's great.
Man, that young lady is just so much like her dad. She is so much like her dad. It has all her dad vibes in her because she is comedy. I have to give her that. That girl is comedy, and give me that. I don't know if I want her to be the first North American champion, first women's North American champion, but I think that is going to be one entertaining match for that title at Battleground.
The women's for the ladder match, which if this doesn't say fire, I don't know. It's Sol Ruka, Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, Jada Parker, Michin, and Kaylani Jordan. I am for this.
I am here for it. I would have liked Nikita Lyons to be in that, but hey, you know what? She's still recovering from her knee injury, and I'm here for any of those women being the first. Although I will tell you next week who I think I would like to win.
Okay, so stay tuned for our predictions next week. Now, we mentioned Ethan Page. We are going to play because he went all freaking kayfabe on us here, Mr. Paul Morales. So,
man, what did he do? Why did Mr. go on kayfabe? You're not signed anywhere, sir.
Everybody saw what I did last night. Literally everybody. We're talking millions of views across all social platforms. It's pretty heavy. I'd even say that's a bit of buying power for Ethan Page, especially because, contrary to popular belief, Ethan Page is not signed to any company or any contract. And I'm going to just assume that Trick Williams would love to get a little payback and revenge on Ethan Page. So NXT, I'm going to leave this one to you. Ball is in your court, and all ego is all ears. I'm going to assume somebody in that company has my number. I'll wait for the call.
You got to love him, man. You got to love the man. He's just, and he's so much better of a talent than people had ever given him credit for. So much bigger of a talent that AEW couldn't hold on to, because he is as big of a star, and I'm going to say it, as MJF if you've given him the chance.
That is 100% correct. And I think with how he was used in AEW to where he is now is a night and day. and I'm here for the All Ego Ethan Page tour. And well, we mentioned TNA and WWE. We have a couple videos here that Paul has sent me from Busted Open, and this one here. We're going to play those before we get into Uncle Dave close out the show because he had a little argument with his boy Brian Alvarez. We'll start with this.
I do have one. I do have a couple things after we do this. I do have a couple of announcements that we need to harp on, but I will announce them and you can keep going.
Okay. All right. We'll start with this one.
Triple H was talking his shit, calling the Forbidden Door a silly name, but now they're calling it the prohibited portal or whatever. But anyway, I digress. So Drew McIntyre has been in TNA. He had a match with Moose. I absolutely love this. They're going back and forth, doors open both ways. I absolutely love this because if you know me at all, you know I'm a huge TNA stan, and I think this is great for business. That being said, if I could see the door the other way, because we haven't seen any WWE stars go to the TNA thing as of right now. You know who I want to see? This man. I'm going to need this man to go home just for one night. TNA will always be his home to me. So please make it happen.
Make it happen. I want to see AJ Styles in TNA because that wherever they're filming at or wherever they recorded at, that place is gonna explode.
Now, AJ Styles, Slammiversary, 20 years of the event. Give me it.
Give me it. It's supposed to be in Ontario, Montreal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we will now play the two Busted Open videos. Here we go.
Here we go.
Is there any way Jordynne Grace wins this match against Roxanne Perez?
I would love to see some kind of shock and awe. Get people talking. Why not? If Jordynne were to show up and defeat Roxanne Perez, and now is your NXT and TNA world champion, and now Roxanne Perez gets her rematch and shows up on TNA television and is able to win back her championship, I don't see anything wrong with that. It's 50-50. It's a wash at the end of the day, but it gets people interested in more people interested in NXT. It gets more people interested in TNA. I love doing things that people don't see coming.
Is there any way Jordynne Grace wins this match against Roxanne Perez?
I would love to see some kind of shock and awe.
He is correct 100% on that. I would love to see it as well. I think it would be fantastic.
Wow. And you know what? When I sent you that and I kept replaying it, and I'm thinking to myself, that would probably be the biggest swerve of, I think, WWE's history. And now mind you, this is not main roster. I get it. It's not main roster. Because it would have been different had Jordynne came in and wrestled like Bayley and took it off of Bayley and went to TNA with it. But no, it's up and coming stars, and this is still Jordynne's still on that rise. She's up here, but she's still got some ways to go, but she's top tier as an athlete and as a wrestler. She is top tier. If you've ever go back and watch any of her matches over the last few years, I mean, she is just top tier. Deonna Purrazzo, Naomi, the list goes on. Mickie James, another person that she's wrestled. That would have been those matches with Mickie, with Deonna, with Naomi, fire. We got to see some of it at the Royal Rumble, but if they want to generate a lot of fanfare towards them, man, this would be a fire thing to do, to have Jordynne win Slammiversary, her opponent ends up being Roxanne, and Roxanne ends up winning the title back or becomes Knockouts champion.
I like it, and I think that will be.
Yeah, but Jordynne can still be TNA champion. Now, mind you, she signed a 3 appearance deal with WWE. So the first one being that one, the next one being her match, and then Battleground would be the third one. If it continues on, hey, that door swings both ways. Psh, this is the door that we all wanted for WWE was to at least work with somebody outside of themselves. And it's been years since that happened. And I'm not talking about USWA.
No, and I'm not talking about Christian just appearing at Slammiversary to induct Sting into the Hall of Fame. I'm talking about actually going to get the prohibited portal, which I thought was hilarious. But
I thought that was an awesome shirt. You got to put that up, man. And that was great by Jordan Grace for putting that out, because that was awesome.
Insert photo here. And one last video before we get into Dave and your announcements. We will go to Brian Alvarez on Busted Open Radio. Here we go.
What was the reaction you were hoping would come across on TV?
I guess a little bit more, like I was saying, like steely confidence. And, you know, I'm playing chess, you're playing checkers. I'm one step ahead of you. You know, Cody, this is why I say I don't blame Cody, because Cody and Rock, I know, sidebarred on this. I think Cody's attitude was, well, I don't like the decision, but I understand. I understand the business that could be done here. So I'll go ahead as best as I can do it. And he did it. And, you know, at the time, we certainly weren't thinking, oh my God, Cody ruined our brilliant creative, because all of us going into it, we're like, I don't know if this is going to work, but let's see what happens. And for a second, it seemed fine, because the crowd in Birmingham popped, you know, big. Rock and Roman had their stare off. Everyone in Gorilla afterwards were, you know, being, okay, great, we're on track. And then, as you know, voiced, the vitriol came hard and heavy and fast and, you know, understandable. And then the next thing that happened after that basically changed the course of WWE history in a way, because I got a voice message from Rock that weekend. So SmackDown was Friday. I got it. I think he gave it to me late, like 4:00 in the morning, his time. He was in Hawaii on Saturday. I got it Sunday morning, and he left me a voice message saying, okay, hear this one out. What if I turned heel?
What was the reaction you were hoping?
Well, The Rock made the correct choice.
It needed to happen, because there was no way you were going to look at this and Cody take a back seat. He won the Royal Rumble. Had this been anybody else, had it been Drew, had Drew won, this wouldn't have been an issue. But you had Cody win 2 years in a row for the exact purpose of him winning the title at WrestleMania from Roman Reigns. But at the same time, I think we've already established the fact that it could have gone two ways. You still could have had the Roman Rock match. You could have still had it, because you could have said, hey, Roman, you know what? You don't wrestle as much. Why don't you wrestle 2 nights in a row? Why don't you wrestle your cousin, or wrestle Cody the first night, or but I understand you want to do it the second night because you needed that big pop for night 2. But it should have been, but you weren't going to have, you could have had Roman go over on The Rock, and you still would have gotten the match. And then Cody beat him the following night and say, guess what? He goes, yeah, I'm the head of the table, yada, 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 going to the match night 2, and gone over, and Cody gone over because he beat the head of the table. But instead, we got swerved. Well, we got audibled by The Rock, and who said, why don't I turn heel? A la Attitude Era Rock. But it was great.
Well, it fit the trajectory of what we got, and I think that being the right call wouldn't have got the amazing moment that we got. And I think sometimes things, even if it has to be an audible or they change it, it's for the best, and this was certainly for the best. And before we get to Dave Meltzer here, go ahead. Now, there is some other news like Paul that wanted to mention here, so go ahead, Paul.
Okay, so as of midnight last night, which is past your time, Becky Lynch had officially become a free agent. And of course, a lot of speculation is that she's just going to take time off, but she had already secretly signed a new contract, but they're not really saying whether she did or she didn't. Now, if she ends up showing up in AEW, I don't think it'll happen. It would be very, very crazy weird. Not so much Mercedes Moné weird, but you know, it would just be weird if Becky ends up showing up there. So the other announcement that I had was actually the recently released Gable Stevenson is actually transitioning from wrestling to the NFL. And he just signed a contract with the Buffalo Bills, and he is going in to be a football player. Crazy enough.
So he sucked at wrestling, so now I'm going to do football. Okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's still an athlete. I mean,
He is.
and he obviously had some with the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. I guess they actually do know each other. So the fact that they gave him a tryout. They let him come in, see what he can do. So from what I read, he just signed a contract with them, so he'll be playing in the NFL possibly next season. If not, he'll just probably be on the practice squad. But hey, shout out to him. Hey, good for him. He got found and landed somewhere. And if Becky Lynch ends up in AEW, wow, that's going to be weird.
So with everybody from Becky Lynch, from Chad Gable, and all these people that we've seen, I'm going to say right now, I think they've secretly, or they're just keeping on the hush. I don't see really any of them going to AEW. Like Chad Gable's in a prominent spot right now, doing some of the best heel work. Becky Lynch has Seth here. I don't see Ricochet going in the summer because I know Will Ospreay put out that photo of him and Ricochet shaking hands from their matches. But I'm like, and I know Will Ospreay wants to wrestle him at Wembley, but I'm like, dude, I don't see it. I don't see any of these people not.
And that's the thing though, is like, Seth is there. Seth re-signed his contract. He signed a new contract. I don't want to say re-signed, but yeah, he re-signed. But he signed a new contract, getting paid a lot more. Drew signed his. Finn Balor signed his. But you're getting all these guys that are coming in, and I think Chad will end up being another one. And it's just a slow process. We don't even know if Becky signed another one. She just posted up a picture right after Raw saying to be continued. So hopefully to be continued, she will be back, and quite possibly whatever time she's taking off, hey, she may just want to be a mother to her daughter for a little while, and not necessarily be out on the road.
Agreed. And well, we saved the best for last, or do we? Because I'm gonna put it to you like
it's Dave. When is it ever the best for last?
Dave, yeah. So Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez had this epic
bitch fight.
I don't know. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
Yes. Right. I thought I sent it to you.
No, this is what I sent you.
Yeah, this is what you sent me. Yeah, that's right. Okay, sorry, my bad.
So this is from Meltzer. All right, well, there's like 5 parts, but it's all 2-minute intervals. So we're going to play the 2 minutes of just how ridiculous this is. So the epic Meltzer versus Alvarez argument over Tony Storm being a babyface or a heel. And Meltzer said what was pretty much saying this is actually Cody Rhodes' fault due to planting this notion in Dave's head in 2017 when he was on the Indies. Fast forward to 2024, and Cody is the biggest white meat babyface ever. So let's start with this. Here we go with the absolute insanity that was this fight.
Storm beat Harley Cameron. So the thing with this match was, first off, Tony Storm's back to being a babyface this week after being a heel last week. Serena Deeb's on the ramp watching on and smiling as Tony's getting beaten down. I think she's supposed to be a babyface, but she came off as a heel. And then it's like Tony Storm is the champion against Harley Cameron. And my God, it felt like they went forever. She's like, beat her already.
It wasn't that long at all.
How long was it?
Let me see. Let me get my...
If it's more than 2 minutes, it was too long.
What? You're trying to push Harley Cameron. They gave...
She's had one match prior to this. Tony's the champion. They're trying to build Tony to a match on the pay-per-view in a week with somebody else. Have Harley beat somebody else.
Mariah met, let's see, Tony Storm. They went 7 minutes.
7 minutes.
That's a short match for AEW television.
I was not a big fan of this.
And it was the only women's match on the show. If they had the only women's match on the show and they went 2 minutes, I promise you, there's going to be so much criticism online the next day.
Well, you know what I have to say about online criticism? I would rather book for success than worry about online criticism.
Yeah,
I
they had
don't
a good-
care if people are angry that it was only 2 minutes. I would not have Tony Storm a week before a title defense on pay-per-view going 7 minutes back and forth with Harley Cameron, who's had one match.
Who looked good in the one match, and this was a good match. I thought, I mean, Harley Cameron, for the number of matches she's had, is really good. They had a very good match. Tony Storm, instead of doing the gimmick, is showing that, in fact, she is wrestling seriously, which she did in this match. And I thought it was very effective. The last time.
Who's the heel?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
No, it doesn't.
Dave, I have seen so many segments with Tony Storm where there is no heat for the interview because
guess what?
nobody cares about the baby face.
Guess what?
Because
She
the
came-
baby face.
All right, that was part one. So we're gonna go into part two now. Oh, it gets better from here.
Whether he's a heel right now, and he's.
All right, that's not it. My bad. Hold on. This is it. Here we go.
I have seen so many segments with Tony Storm where there is no heat for the interview
Well,
because
guess what?
nobody cares about the baby face.
Guess what?
Because
She
the
came-
baby face. Did you watch the segment they did last week?
Did you? Wait. Were you in the building when Tony Storm came out and she got cheered like crazy? This match did not have no heat. This match had plenty of heat.
Yeah.
Harley Cameron was the heel. Tony Storm was a big time babyface.
Yes, Dave.
There was
and
nothing
last
wrong with that.
week, she was a heel. Tony was a heel last week.
So whoever
And
they
Serena
cheered,
was out there doing a sad story about how she almost died.
and guess
and
what?
nobody cared. They booed her.
So they switched the thing around to follow the crowd. What's wrong with that?
Because they didn't switch it. And she
Yes,
will be
they
a
did.
heel. She will be a heel the next time you see her.
It doesn't matter as long as the crowd reacted like crazy. This is on WWE. Does this constantly?
No, they don't. They have baby
Yes, they
faces and
do.
heels. They have baby faces and heels. and
it's
so does
situational.
AEW,
And it's situ- and
except
it's
with
si-
Tony.
And it's situational. It depends on who's wrestling who on what show. That's not. I mean, they have technically.
What's the
babyfaces.
last show where Drew was a baby face?
Drew
He's a
McIntyre's
heel.
not. That's Drew McIntyre. Okay. What about Bronson Reed and Chad Gable when they wrestled each other? Who was the babyface and who was the heel?
Bronson Reed and Chad Gable.
Yeah,
What match?
they should have matched last week.
Chad was the heel. And he is a heel.
So Bronson Reed's the babyface. Is Bronson Reed the babyface next? Will he be the babyface next week? Is he usually the babyface? No. That's what happens. You have situational things, and that's what you do. Everyone has it because you sometimes make matches where there's a different thing. It's not a big deal, and it certainly wasn't here because the match was effective. The match was good, and again, Tony Storm, who has done a lot of the gimmick so heavy for so long that has not shown off her wrestling skill, and she's going to do a match with Serena Deeb where whatever it is, they are going to go out and do a wrestling match. So therefore, if Tony Storm,
We're almost done.
where whatever it is, they are going to go out and do a wrestling match. So therefore, if Tony Storm went and did her Tony Storm gimmick and Serena Deeb on the pay-per-view, it would suck. So they're basically showing she is going to wrestle Tony Storm, and they're going to have a good match. So
Well,
that is so.
We
that
can
is what
discuss this after the Double
that
or
is-
Nothing match.
That is what the,
and
that is
next
what-
Wednesday.
That is what they are. That is what the story is. The story is that she went in there and the crowd cheered her. The crowd knew who the babyface was. The crowd knew who the heel was.
They cheer Tony all the time.
but
They
knew.
cheer her every week, even when she's playing the heel role against another babyface. She should always be a babyface.
Well,
There's
there's a
no need for her to be a heel. She's
shows-
never going to get booed.
Okay,
So
but
can
guess
we
what?
stop killing all the other baby faces by having her be a heel that everyone loves?
Okay, but
That's the problem.
Okay, no. Okay, what does the other thing about Tony Storm? What's the other thing about Tony Storm? She is the world champion.
Yes.
A real world champion wrestles baby faces and heels. And in that role, depending upon the situation, you are situational. That's everyone from Luthez to Jack Briscoe to Dory Funk Jr. to Ric Flair to whatever.
That's not what's happening here. What's happening is she is a heel.
She's not a heel.
She is portrayed as a heel.
She wasn't
and they
portrayed
have
as a
her
heel in this match.
opponents. They have her opponents portrayed.
She
This
was
is
not.
Dave. This
She
is
was not portrayed
an
as a heel.
exception. This is an exception.
Harley Cameron is a heel. Harley Cameron is a heel.
This is an exception.
She was a babyface.
Yes. If you watch the show, this is an exception.
And guess what? And it is a angle that makes sense because Harley Cameron wrestled Mariah May, her protege, and
who is portrayed as a babyface.
Who was a babyface in that match, in that situation. So therefore, she's trying to get revenge for the fact that they beat up Mariah May. And so in that role, she is in fact the babyface. So she was a babyface. She got cheered. She had a good match. And, you know, there was nothing. I can't find a thing wrong with this at all. Not a thing.
We'll discuss this again next Wednesday for the next segment they do with Tony Storm and Serena Deeb.
Okay.
Because I will.
But if they go in there,
yes.
If they go in the match, it doesn't. So if they cheer Tony Storm, cool. If they boo Tony Storm, cool. They're probably going to cheer her. But that's
they are going to cheer her.
Well, fine. That's fine. That's fine. What's wrong with that?
Because her opponent is being pushed as a babyface. And no one cares about her opponent. The exact same thing happened with Deanna. Deanna was supposed to be the babyface. Nobody cared.
Okay, well, if they go out there and if the fans don't care, then guess what? It would have been even worse if she was the heel and Serena was the babyface. At least in this case.
No, that's what is happening. That's why I'm saying it needs to go the other way. Serena Deeb should be the heel. Tony should be the babyface. Deanna should have been the heel. Tony should have been the babyface. Tony should be the babyface going forward.
Okay.
That's what should happen.
Okay, then Tony should be the babyface if the fans cheer.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens next week when she's the heel and Serena's the babyface, which is what they did last week.
But guess what? Serena was not necessarily a babyface when she was out on the ramp at all.
She wasn't today, but she was last week when she's talking about how she almost died.
Guess what?
And she's begging the fans to cheer, and they won't.
Brian.
Yes.
Maybe they learned from last week. Is there a possibility they learned from last week, and that's why they did this? Aside from the fact that it all fits into the storyline.
Dave, you want to know why I'll say no, there's not a possibility?
Okay.
Because 3 weeks ago, Tony Storm was playing the babyface role, and I was like, okay, finally they figured it out. Tony's the babyface. The very next week, they switched it again and had Serena Deeb play babyface and talk about how she almost died, begging fans to cheer, and nobody did.
Well, guess what? So they learned.
Okay, if they learned, great.
They learned. So they learned.
We will figure it out next Wednesday when they do another segment. If she's still a babyface.
Well,
where were we?
Well, it doesn't. As long as the crowd as long as the crowd's going to react.
Where were we?
Well, it doesn't. As long as the crowd. Look, as long as the crowd's going to react, I don't care who the babyface or the heel is. You know, in this day and age, the crowd's going to do what the crowd's going to do. You know, how many times we went through this whole thing with John Cena for 10 years.
Yeah, and what did we say, Dave? We say he should have gone babyface.
John Cena should have stayed babyface. Yeah,
and when Roman Reigns was getting booed like crazy, we say he should have gone heel.
Okay,
should have gone with it.
Okay, each time I never said John Cena should turn heel. I was always against John Cena turning heel because guess what? I think about business, and the business was that John Cena was selling the most tickets, and John Cena was selling the most merchandise. And if he turned heel, the merchandise sales would go down, and that's why Vince McMahon never turned him. And when he went to the house shows, he always got cheered, and it was just the TV crowd. And John Cena was the most successful character they had for all those years as he was being booed as a babyface. So it doesn't matter that he was booed as a babyface at all because he was the number one drawing card that they had that entire period, except for a brief period. I think there may have been a brief period where Jeff Hardy may have surpassed him, but it was brief because didn't sustain, and Jeff was Jeff. So it doesn't, like, the whole point is it doesn't matter who they cheer or boo. It's everything is situational. Sometimes fans are going to boo baby faces, and if they do, it kind of sucks when they boo a baby face. So that's probably better to turn them. But sometimes, like, again, John Cena shows. In this case, I've seen so many heels get cheered, and it was fine. I mean, it's tough for a baby face, but if business is good, then it's whatever. Everyone cheered the NWO. It was great for a while. At some point, of course, it turned bad, but that took years. When it did, then you had other problems. And they tried to turn him babyface to begin with.
Well, let's talk about Roderick Strong and Will Ospreay. They had a backstage segment, and
first of all, Brian is losing his mind. There's sometimes I just wonder if Brian just like loses his mind. It's like, why am I talking to this person? First of all, that he yelled at him, and she's not a heel. She almost died. Like just that whole conversation. Go ahead.
The whole thing is like we'll compress this.
Sure.
It's the fact is that not every match is going to be face versus heel. Mm-hmm. Not every match is going to be like that, and you're trying to establish people in certain positions as far as like if you're going for a title, you're trying to build them up. Even if you get heel versus heel or face versus face. What I'm getting at is that it doesn't matter whether Toni Storm is a face or a heel. It doesn't. If people are generating towards her, much like John Cena, he referenced it. And he referenced Roman Reigns. People hated him. Why? Because Vince was pushing him down our throats. Vince was pushing him so hard for people that didn't want him, who thought Daniel Bryan, Damian Sandow was a better character than him. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, several others were better than Roman Reigns. The one video, John telling Roman in a promo, "Come on, kid, it's a promo. You should know this by now." And he's sitting there like he doesn't know what to say. Roman is not great on the mic by any means. Is he good? Yes. Is he good enough to get by? Yes. But the character was built up that way, and it wasn't that people didn't believe in him. It was that they didn't believe in the character that Vince was trying to push in front of us. And he kept trying to push, and people rejected him. You know that as well as I did, because it was not great. Go back to the turn that should have happened against The Rock.
John Cena, yep.
No,
Roman.
Roman.
Yeah,
the turn that should have happened back at the Royal Rumble when they were in the ring and they were raising his hand. And again, back to him being pushed so fucking hard that people didn't want him. But here we are, him winning the Royal Rumble, going on to WrestleMania. It didn't need to happen. It didn't. And it could have happened differently. It would have been a whole lot different had he went heel then. Now people want to sit here and say, "Oh, well, John Cena was a face and he, people were booing him." Okay. I bet you anything. Had he turned heel and he went back to the Doctor of Thugonomics, then when people were booing the hell out of him and he went back to that character, people would have fucking ate it up.
Yep.
And even as a heel, he would have been a top seller. I don't give a shit what Meltzer says. He still would have been a top seller, top merch seller, because even as a heel, he was still over. That's the exact same thing with Damian Sandow when he was going for the Intercontinental Championship. Look at how much he was over. And Vince said, "Nah, it's cool." Hit the brakes on it. Why? Because it wasn't who he wanted. And that's sad because there were so many guys who were over. Dude, the list can go on and on I mean, into the thousands of how many guys that a lot of people liked.
Well, yeah, you look
Dating
at
back to when he took over the company, Junkyard Dog, Roddy Piper,
Yep.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka, even though people hated him now, but I mean, then he was over. Big John Studd,
Yep.
big ass heel who could have been a champion. Why wasn't he a champion? Because Vince didn't want to let Hulk Hogan let go of that title. Yeah, he had a great heel in Roddy Piper, but at what cost? He was never a world champion in WWE. Fuck the Intercontinental Championship. That man should have been a world champion.
Agreed. And I mean, with the Damian Sandow comparison, like how hot he was when he was Money in the Bank, and then he loses to Cena in that cash in. So there's so many different names, like you mentioned, with John Studd going back and transferring back to the 80s and that transition. Like, I look at it like this. Like, he's talking about Tony Storm and Harley Cameron. Harley Cameron, who just went from doing the whole Johnny TV and that whole QTV crap to all of a sudden she's with Saraya, and she's like her little thing now. And then she's wrestling Tony Storm out of mothballs, which that should have been a squash going into that pay-per-view. And now you're having Tony and Mariah against Saraya and freaking Harley Cameron out of nowhere. I look at it from a stance too as well. It's like when Dave says it, and I'll go back to what Sami Zayn, Bronson Reed, and Chad Gable, which we just had at King and Queen of the Ring. Okay, Bronson Reed is a heel who has stated clearly, I don't hate you, Sammy, but it's business. I want the Intercontinental Championship. Chad Gable attacked him for showing love to his family after what just happened in that, and Chad Gable's so obsessed with becoming the Intercontinental Champion. It makes sense because they both want to attain that one goal of being the Intercontinental Championship. Harley Cameron has nothing to do with this. This is just someone thrown at random to be in there because they don't have heels, and I think they want to do Tony Storm and Saraya again for that women's championship because Saraya is the one who won that championship with her at Wembley. So I think that's the direction they're going. But at the same time, Harley Cameron means nothing going into this. And Dave Meltzer wants to just try to spin it and say that she is. So that whole fight, you could tell Brian Alvarez was done with Dave's bullshit.
But Dave continued to try and justify everything that he was trying to say. He kept trying to justify and kept trying to continue the argument with Brian because for some apparent reason, it's like he needed to be right. He needed this to be the argument that he won because it was something that he believed in. But I go back to not everything needs to be a face and a heel, but you need to have justification. If this is a squash match, hey, it's a squash match. Braun Breaker. If it's a squash match, hey, cool, it's a squash match. But have it have meaning. Have it mean something. But because in AEW, it just doesn't mean anything.
But what does mean something is this show, because we give you all of the great do's and don'ts and pros and cons of professional wrestling. And next week, we will be discussing NXT Battleground and our predictions for that show. And it's going to be a great week next week. Thank you guys for listening. We're almost 2 doggone hours into this show, but we had a lot to cover over the last 2 weeks of our hiatus. And Paul Morales, before we close this out, where can we find you on the social media fronts? The floor is yours.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter, X, gonna give it to you on that name, Deadman of RWT. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on TikTok, same name right there. You can also find me on the RWT Facebook page, which will be in the link below. Shout out back once again to my niece and nephews up here, Calvin, Louie, and LaRuth, who is graduating on Wednesday. Love all three of you. Mr. Michael Larkin, floor is yours, sir.
First off, much love to the family and congratulations on graduating. And I will say this, if you want to follow this show, Mike Larkin 92 on the YouTube channel, you can check out SM Show 1 or MCL 92 on Twitter and Larkin_92 or MLarkinMB on the Instagram front. StephenMikeShow.com, LFCfights.com. The YouTube channel features the weekly review, Deep Into the Heart of Wrestling, the LFC Lingerie Fighting Championships podcast, Stephen Mike Show, Pop Culture History Podcast, and the list goes on the Mike with Mike as well. So tune in next week as Paul Morales and I will be talking about his girl. We'll be talking about the NXT Battleground show presented to you by WWE and the Against All Odds weekend. There's a lot to cover next week, and we'll have some more fun topics for you. And I will just
we got predictions.
Yes, I just said that. Predictions.
Oh yeah, you did say that. Sorry, my bad.
All right. And we have Nia Jax and Mia Yim, which, by the way, both of those women in that segment, yes, please. There's his girl. So, for Paul Morales, my name is Mike Larkin. And to close this out, Nia Jax, you got it going on. Oh, yes. We love
Yes,
it.
she does. My queen.
Bow down to the queendom, baby. We'll see you next week, folks.
Deuces.